Hello and welcome to the Nen Show. Wait, there's no opening. Mathwiz, they're gonna be confused. They're not gonna know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on.
That's good. Well, that describes this stretch of chapters. Because, what the fuck? In, like, the best way. But what the fuck? Oh, man. Anyway, I enjoyed it. But I guess we can get into comments first. You didn't have any, you said?
No, not really.
Well, I had 2 more than usual, which is 0 lately. Well, generally I did, there was a few people, like, some people still didn't like the Fullbring arc, which is fine. Some people don't like Bleach. That's fine. You know, I just question why anyone liked it in the first place if they don't like it now. That's my only, point of potential contention. Like, I still don't understand. Like, I guess I remember, like, one person said that people like Soul Society because they like the characters better, but it's like, the Arrancar arc had those same characters. So, what's the problem? I don't know. So anyway, but yeah, I did like seeing the comments that were like, oh yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the arc more this time around because it's like, maybe if you were reading it weekly or watching it in the anime, it wasn't as good than just binging it. So...
See, actually, now that you mention that, I was just thinking about how previously you had said about, like with how Bleach is constructed, how it's almost like, for double the chapters, you kind of get half the content, or, that sounds negative, but you know what I mean.
In a way, I know, yes, it's just the way it's very, like, especially the fights. Like, the fights have this, like, one idea, but lots of big panels and big splash pages, and, it flows really quickly to read. But getting one chapter a fucking week... No, it's got it like nothing happened in the chapter, every chapter. But
like,
yeah,
I was just thinking before we started how that really only works with the manga, because if you watch the anime, you're always getting that 20-minute runtime per episode. It's not like.
But then the question is, how much do they adapt? Because with Bleach, you have filler. I don't know how much it was padded out. Like One Piece gets the shit padded out of it, especially back in like Dressrosa, where it's just like one chapter an episode, or even less than a chapter an episode, and it's like, One Piece chapters are fairly dense, but imagine that for Bleach. Could you imagine one of these chapters stretched out to a whole episode? Like, especially during a fight? Like, imagine three episodes of, like, Kenpachi versus Noitora, or something like random like that. Just like,
well, you said that as, like,
yeah.
Well, you did say that it's just, like, on the topic of filler, but I'm just thinking, like, even on a fundamental level, like, let's say this was adapted with like a My Hero Academia pace where it's like taking the yearly breaks. How many chapters would you have to pack into an episode to kind of equate the same sort of, because like you can read Bleach faster than you can read Naruto or One Piece,
yes,
just because of how the chapters are structured. How exactly do you capture that in the anime?
It would have to be
because
like
you have that set runtime, so do you just pack more
panels where every panel is like a few frames. Where, because like, Murata's art style is very cinematic, I would say, where, like, you could almost see how it moves in an animated way, and I think Kubo is kind of similar, maybe not quite as direct. Like, I've actually seen someone make an animation of just panels stitched together, from One Punch Man, where it actually looks like it's animated just from how he drew it. But it's like, with Bleach, I don't see that, but it would definitely have to be very, very quick, especially during the fights. Like, there'd be... But then the talking would slow it down. Like, that's kind of the issue with adapting from a comic to a visual or a video medium, because talking takes way less time or way more time to get information across than action. But they take, that's the thing. Like, honestly, like, considering like page economy, especially with Kubo, the dialogue takes up way less a page than the action does. So it's very disproportionate, because in a video you would have so much more time spent on the dialogue, where in the manga you have so much more page space for the action, so it's like almost opposite, really. So yeah, Bleach adapting well, like, it would be hard, really hard.
So that would make me think, like, if the typical, like, golden rule, quote unquote, for Shounen is like 2 or 3 chapters an episode, would Bleach have to be like 5 or 6 to kind of, because like you said, it reads
exposition
at like
heavy, like discussion heavy chapters would probably be less, but action heavy chapters, 5 or 6. You'd want a whole fight for one of those, or a whole episode for like some of those fights, the longer ones, But it would be interesting to see. Like, I mean, I feel like not every shonen, but a lot of them need like a Dragon Ball Kai. Like Naruto needs actually Naruto and One Piece have fan projects where they edit together like faster episodes. I forget what the Naruto one is called, but for One Piece it's called One Pace, where the idea is to cut out the padding and just make episodes that are actually like watchable. But yeah, I'm wondering if there's a Bleach thing like that, because I only heard about the Naruto one recently, even though I've known about One Piece for a while now. So, because it'd definitely be possible. I wonder how short it would be.
Yeah, I realized that was a bit of a tangent, but it was just something I had thought of that, felt.
No, I gotcha. Yeah, it's relevant to the discussion. Anyway, MG Dragon pointed out a little thing I know. Well, just more drove home something we already understood, where like the idea that Soul Society had changed, and what I didn't quite connect was like Rukia giving everyone's soul energy to Ichigo that's what Rukia was supposed to be executed for. Like, she gave her soul energy to Ichigo, and so she was, well, of course it was Aizen, but she was set to be executed. So it's like, what better way to drive home that Soul Society has changed than by like everyone broke the rule that almost got Rukia executed. And like, if that isn't trust in Ichigo, then I don't know what is. So yeah, I didn't quite pick up. Well, I mean, it was all there. That makes sense. Just a little more to it. And then Resident Pilot had a really baffling comment that started with like, I like Ichigo's character growth, but not his development. I'm like, what? Or the other way around. I'm like, but they're the same thing. What? I don't, I don't understand. But it's like, if you don't like Ichigo, that's fine. But I think he works for the story. Like, and nothing in his comment really said that he didn't work for the story. Like, he pointed out, like, he against Renji, he accepted that he's gonna have to kill people. Like, pointing out something I hadn't noticed, where Ichigo, understanding his opponent and adapting his ideals to like he did with Grimjo. That was when I really first noticed it. But like, the thing with Renji is that like, it even came back, like, just the last arc. He killed Ginjo. He was willing to do it. So, yeah. And I do think, like there was... I wish I had saved it. I mean, I didn't like the tone of the post, but someone sent me, like, it was I guess an Ichigo analysis, more like it was pointing out the character development, just sort of, like, kind of just, like, shoving it... I didn't like the tone of it because it was very... Out of a desire for legitimization, it was just kind of like throwing Naruto and One Piece under the bus, like, irrationally, and ultimately it didn't really get at the main point of like what Ichigo's character change was in service of, like the thematic ideas. It was just pointing out that it was there. So it's like, it's definitely there. Like, if you don't think it's good, okay, I think it's interesting, but all right, well, okay. The thing about this stretch of chapters, like, starting to worm our way into discussion, unless you had anything to add to that comment if you saw it, or either of my comments that I had brought up.
Nope, not really.
But yeah, the thing about this discussion is, like, I caught, wind of, like, a couple of the ideas that they're going with. Like, the big one I noticed was the future. Like, a lot of characters mentioned the future. There's, the torch passing, like, especially with Kenpachi and Unohana. But, so it's like, but we only have half the arc, so so there wasn't a lot of payoff, obviously, because the payoff's going to be next. If there is payoff, or if it's good payoff, that's the question. So it's like honestly, especially like the first, like I divide this stretch of chapter into 3. You have like the first stretch of chapters with the invasion, then you have the training arc, and then you have the start of the finale. And like, I would say, like, especially like right before the training arc, like that was like the most I've been into Bleach, I think, ever. Like, that was probably my favorite stretch of Bleach ever. It was fucking wild. The training was fine, and the battle was like one of them in particular is where I was like, okay. But we'll talk about that. But shit, I don't know what I'm gonna call this episode because it's like 1,000 Year Blood War Part 1. But what's the part in the brackets? Because training, I don't know, maybe I'll figure it out. So did you have anything to add, or should we get started?
We can just jump right into it.
Okay. So yeah, Kurasuchi's gang is noting a mysterious hollow disappearance, which, as we find out later, is the only people who could destroy hollows completely, Quincy's. And then, so, well, I do want to point out, like, I'm actually curious, because I guess to skip ahead a bit, because it's pretty big. Ichigo being a Quincy, I was spoiled on that. I've known that for years. I've known that before. I knew that before we started reading. So how did you feel about it?
I mean, like, it makes sense. I know before I had said, like, oh, he's half human, half Soul Reaper, and someone in the comments was like, So I kind of figured this was coming, because, like, I mean, he has the Hollow powers, he has the Soul Reaper powers, he's semi-human. Is he even human anymore? No, he's still
well, that's
human.
The thing, is like,
so, like, I don't know.
I guess to spoil it, because he gets his 2 swords, and, like, his whole thing is, like, you know, the dualities. Like, he's hollow, like, who is it who said, like hollows and humans are opposites, and Soul Reapers and
Quincy's
are opposites.
Urahara.
Yes. Like, well, because it's, you know, humans are living souls, hollows are corrupted dead souls, Soul Reapers are kind of in the middle as, you know, uncorrupted living or uncorrupted souls, but they, you know, their point is to bring balance. So, but then the Quincy's, they destroy, so they're the opposite of bringing balance. They don't bring balance to either side, they destroy both sides. So it's like, and Ichigo's all of them, because, you know, that's his thing. He understands, he connects to it. He's not an extreme. He doesn't, like we were talking about last arc, he always had doubts about Soul Society. So, you know, that's his whole thing. He's understanding his own inner, you know, conflicts and such. So yeah, I guess we were both fine with him being a Quincy. So, and yeah, the way Aizen phrased it, like, I'm guessing he might have been, but then, would you call a Soul Reaper a human? I mean, it is a human soul, so I guess you could call it that. But, I mean, well, we'd definitely see why Aizen was interested in Ichigo, because the circumstances of his birth was, or, you know, his parents getting together was, he was like, oh, this seems interesting. So, yeah, they kind of wrapped up that old thread.
Yeah, and it doesn't, like, with the reveal, it's not just one of those, you know, like, oh my god, out of nowhere retcons. Like, it seems kind of obvious that, like, Kubo had been going in this direction for
That's the thing,
a while.
The fucking Zangetsu shit blew my fucking mind. Because, like, we'd seen oh, by the way, the pronunciation is Yuabak for the main antagonist. I don't know, how are you pronouncing it in your head? I had someone inform me.
In my head, I was like, Yuak.
Yeah, the Yuabak is I don't know where the B sound comes from, but just roll with it.
Well, this arc was like,
so if I'm wrong,
German,
it's not my fault.
Right? Wasn't that the language?
Well, the language?
Right.
I don't know about the language, but I do know it's the name of God. So there's an obvious reason for that. But again.
Okay.
But yeah, that was, we'll get to that later, but I did want to comment on that a little bit now. But my main point was, like, yeah, like, I feel like Kubo has had, like, all of this in mind, and he's just been fucking waiting to reveal it. So, it felt like, oh, that makes sense now. It didn't feel like, oh, this is bullshit. And I'm betting, reading weekly, it was, oh, this is bullshit, because no one had read the series in a while, details are forgotten, and that's just how it goes. So anyway, we start off with 2 new minor characters going to Karakura Town, and immediately getting wrecked by hollows. And we actually have a cool, I like the shot of the 4 of them, like, fucking battle ready. Like, see, it's like, I wouldn't say this is a payoff to the last arc, you know, because it's not really a super dangerous foe, but at the same time you do have, like, Ichigo everyone fighting alongside each other. There's no,
it
like...
certainly got my hopes up.
Yeah, there's... well, see, the thing about the trust thing is, like, with the Ishida shit that happens later, like, that hasn't... What... Why? Like, we only got, like, bits of that, so we can't even really talk about it yet until it gets resolved. But... like, we're only halfway through the fucking arc. Damn it.
I mean, this was certainly a cool looking spread. Like, everybody looking all ready for battle. It's good.
Yeah, you got Ichigo, you got Orihime, you got Ishida, you got Chad's there for some reason.
Maybe we'll get more of a follow up to this in the second half. Probably not.
I hope.
But I can dream.
We can dream. So anyway, Ichigo gets attacked by the first Quincy, Eburn, the Arrancar. So, and I guess I can bring up, like, there's so much stuff where, like, I'm jumping ahead to, because it's like, there's unanswered questions. Like, well, because with this, it's like, the whole thing later is we find out that, Quincy and Hollow does not mix, and yet here we have a Hollow or a Quincy Arrancar, and even Ichigo himself is Quincy and Hollow. So I expect that to be answered at some point, but it's definitely I'm not sure. Like with the thing about Hollows being poisoned to Quincy's, like I don't know. Maybe there's something about the what I don't know. I have no idea what it could be. So maybe this is just bullshit, and I don't know yet. But I guess we'll find out. So yeah. Anyway, Ichigo fights the dude. He's his Bankai doesn't get stolen, and while that's happening, Quincy's are invading Soul Society. But it doesn't last though. Yamato, the one dude dies, and Yamato chases him off. And then we get interested in Yuabak, or introduced to. Why did I say interested? I can't speak. I just woke up. But yeah, Ichigo goes to Huacamundo while Yuabak kills his the failures, I suppose. I didn't like Halabel. I just assumed she died, but she's okay, and that makes sense because she only got like slashed by Aizen. She didn't get turned into giblets like Tosen, so sure.
Yeah, yeah. There were quite a few characters that popped up in this early stretch of chapters. I was like, oh, weren't they dead? Why weren't they dead? Okay, it's fine.
Well, Halabel, she makes sense. Like I didn't like she was just taken out of the fighting. Like how she got to Hakamundo is a question, or from Fate Card.
It seems weird to me that like I mean I guess Aizen didn't have to kill her. That part is fine, but like why did the Soul Reapers spare these Arrancars? Like what did they benefit from that? Like
well, because it seems like Hakamundo just kind of went back to like see, I don't. The three ladies who made the Chimera dude, they show up again, and I'm like, what happened to them? I forget.
Like, no, that was when Yamamoto came in and destroyed them, but apparently didn't kill them.
Okay, yeah, that's a little weird. Because it's Yamamoto, so it's like, how did he not? Like, he's a fucking monster. Like as we see. He's insanely powerful. So yeah, okay, and they have their arms back somehow. Okay, not everything makes sense. Like I mean, once it was over, like I can kind of understand them not caring about the Arrancars because without Aizen, what are they gonna do? But Halabel is fine. The ladies, I'm like, okay. So
although this does remind me because sometime. I forget if it was after the last podcast or when it was, but I had asked you. I was like, wait, whatever happened to Grimjo? I don't remember him dying. So he didn't show up in this stretch of chapters, but maybe he'll show up next time.
See, yeah, because he would have been. See, he would have been in Huacamundo, but he wouldn't have been because Halabel was the strongest who survived. They outright mentioned, because Yami should be alive too, because he was alive talking to the hollow animal last we saw him after Byakuya and Kenpachi wrecked him off screen. So.
But maybe because
he's 10 and 0.
His power changes
right,
so
he's potentially the strongest after a while. So it makes sense why he's not the leader because he can't. Halabel is just that strong all the time, and Grimjo is only number 6. So and yeah, everyone above or potentially above because like Ulquiorra, he could have been higher if Aizen had known about his like extra transformation. But obviously he died, so it doesn't matter.
I guess this would be where, like, this is part of where, like, the, Bleach characters don't die meme comes from, because, like,
yeah.
Why didn't these characters die? So they could be used later, I guess. But,
right. Well, because it's, like, I mean, yeah, but, like, the only way that, like, the Chimera ladies matter is that the dude steals their powers and merges the Chimera thing into his, Quincy thing. I'm bad with names, okay? Leave me alone.
There's just too many damn characters in Bleach. I don't even remember like some of the names of all the captains and assistant captains, and they're like important characters.
They've been around
supposedly.
for a while too. Like, yeah, the only ones I can consistently know are like major ones, and of course the main cast who was introduced in the first arc because they've been around the longest. And when there's fewer characters, it's easier to. When we get introduced like 5 characters at once, it's like, yeah, I'm not remembering all your names.
I'll be lucky if I remember any of your names, let alone all of them. But yeah, that's just part of the issue, because when we talk about we talked about how in Naruto it has a big cast and it's underutilized, but like at least there I remember most of the characters' names, because like they at least have a little something to do over the course of the narrative.
I mean, there's fewer of them too. Like there's what the 12-leaf ninja, the 3 sound ninja, and some scattered like jonin. So that's still less than just Soul Society alone, ignoring all the Arnkars, all the Quincy's.
Yeah, Bleach's cast is just bloated, and see this arc. This arc, it's not that like I disliked this arc in particular. It's just that like the fatigue of reading Bleach is catching up to me. So now I'm just like done. So it's not that this arc was any worse than the others, but like all the flaws of Bleach are just now weighing on me, and I'm just like, I just want to be One Piece. Can we get to One Piece?
I'm like aware of the flaws, but I also just want to keep fucking reading. So I'm the opposite. I want to be done so I can like read analysis and talk about it, know Bleach and understand, and actually be able to talk about it outside of the podcast without having fear of being spoiled. So, what did you have any thoughts about Ichigo versus the what's his face, the jailer dude in Huacamundo?
Nope, I have no thoughts. It was a fight that happened.
Yeah, it's kind of there to like establish the Quincy powers, and sort of set up their ideals, I suppose. Well, like they do a few things to like separate them from like Ishida. Like he mentions, he sort of starts the future idea. He mentions the evolution of the Quincy's, like how their mechanics have changed since, whereas like with Ishida and Uryu and his dad, they were using outdated shit. So yeah, because basically the second form he does is the same thing that Ishida used to defeat Kurasuchi, except it's not shit anymore. And I'm looking at my notes and I had questions, but they've been answered.
See,
what's up?
I just have this big question with this arc of like, supposedly all the Quincy's were, killed off way back when, but there's this whole army that's still alive. Like, how did no one notice this? And I don't remember it ever being addressed. Like,
they did. They've literally been at Soul Society in the Invisible Empire because Quincy's they steal reishi from the air, so they use that to make like a pocket dimension under Soul Society, basically, or something.
So when the Soul Society killed off all the Quincy's, they just didn't know that these other Quincy's existed?
They thought they killed off... Well, I guess because that's the other thing, it's like... Because I guess there was like 200 years ago, the Soul Reapers killed all the Quincy's. That's the other thing I realized is that... I just realized this just now, is that it's not like the Quincy's are like all one thing. Like Ishida's family is obviously like a different thing. Like they're not connected to Yuabak. Like, I mean, they're related to Yuabak, obviously. That's the whole, he is the father of all of them. But they're clearly separate. Like they're using like old traditional stuff, whereas these Quincy's are used. So Soul Society might have killed other Quincy. Like, I didn't see any notes of like others existing. But I don't know. I feel like it makes sense that they thought they killed the Quincy's basically. So because they've been hiding.
I don't feel like it does make sense. Like, it's not addressed enough for me to, like, get an answer out of it. So I kind of just have to roll with it.
Because he's also, like he killed, he has this thing where, like, he kills the mixed blood Quincy's, like Ishida's mom, the maid lady from the mansion. But it's, like, a big deal that Ishida didn't die, so... I have no idea. I'll think about it. Because that's the thing, I'm going to reread Bleach, after we finish. Because I want to read all the analysis and figure my shit out before I make any videos. So, I don't know. Oh yeah, I did it's a bit later, but how Kurasuchi kind of figured some shit out regarding the Quincy's, because he met Ishida. And... so it kind of made sense that because he knew about like I think it was Yamato. He knew that Yamato had not killed or no, was that Yamato or was that Kurasuchi? What chapter is it? There's so much material to scrub through. Okay, I must be skipping ahead because holy shit, I'm skipping through a lot of shit trying to find it and I want to die because I'm trying to say something but I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'll mention it later when I find it. But yeah, so Ichigo keeps fighting. He tries to get to Soul Society with Urahara's help, but he gets jailed. And then he has to listen as Space Soul Society gets fucked, pretty much.
Yeah, that made for a really cool looking panel where it's just all the speech bubbles surrounding him in this like black void. That was cool.
Yeah, that was pretty good. And well, you kind of see like the Quincy's are the Soul Reapers opposites, but the Quincy's like pretty much hard counter the Soul Reapers. Like they have this Bankai stealing, they destroy souls, so it's like the Soul Society gets like fucked hard, pretty much.
See, this arc, or especially like this opening invasion part, reminded me a lot of the Pain arc in Naruto.
I see,
because
now that you mention it.
All these outside enemies jumping in and attacking sort of the home base of the Soul Society, and all these characters are getting their battles, they're fighting everyone off. So I feel like I should really be enjoying this stretch of chapters, and I just didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the Pain arc, I was like, holy shit, like things are happening. With the Soul Society, like I'd have a couple moments here and there, like a couple of battles stood out to me, but then things would just kind of end, and I was just like, oh.
Well, it's like one thing I liked is how they thought they had a counter to the Bankai sealing, except it didn't work at all. So it's like there's just this like hopes kept getting quashed kind of thing, making the situation even more dire. So yeah, it was. Oh, and I did not want to see the panel of Rukia rotting away. That was not what I want. No, Rukia is too good. Don't do that to me, Kubo. You bitch.
See what?
Fuck you.
This was like, I really liked that fight with Byakuya and Renji against the fear guy, because I like the whole, because like with Byakuya, because like typically what has happened in these Bleach battles is the enemy, they do their posturing, they're like, oh, you can't beat me, and then the Soul Society guy is like, oh, but you can't beat me, your stuff is ineffective, and then they just hack him down and win. But with like Byakuya, he's like, oh, I've never, abandoned fear. Of course, I embrace it. I know this is a thing, but I've overcome it in my battles. And then the guy's just like, no, you can't overcome fear, but that's your weakness, that you think you've overcome it because you have that experience.
I'm such a fucking idiot. I only just realized like why the ideological conflict here, because I talked about how the future is kind of a deal, and like the Vandenreich keeps talking about evolution and progress. They've advanced beyond what the Quincy's used to be, but Soul Society kind of hasn't for the most part. Like they've advanced a little through Ichigo, but on their own they're still stagnant. They're still the same bullshit they were 1,000 years ago. So like, and that's basically what's happening here, is they're getting fucked over because they're still locked into their old ways. Like they're Bankai, the Bankai is our strongest technique, so it's no, they keep getting fucked. And then later on they advance, they progress, they train their Shikais and are able to do things with so there's more advancement, I suppose. So maybe maybe I'll figure out more when I get to that point, but I finally like, it's like, oh yeah, duh. It makes sense, because that's Soul Society's whole thing, especially back in the Soul Society arc, where they were stagnant and locked into their old ways, and Ichigo's like, no, wrong. So, yeah, makes sense.
Okay, that's a cool aspect of this arc. I have a little something to appreciate now.
So, okay, now we gotta get to like one of the most controversial parts, apparently, because I've gotten some hints on Curious Cat. Byakuya died, except not really.
See, yeah, I remember going through, like, videos and such, like, trying to find some cool points about Bleach, and I did get spoiled. Well, not,
Oops.
like, I remember somebody saying that, like, oh, Byakuya should have died, Kenpachi should have died. So, like, in that, I was spoiled that they don't die, but, like, no, it doesn't, like, here, like, I could maybe see Byakuya dying here, although, like, the thing with me with this fight was I was, like, just starting to get invested in it with the whole fear thing, and then Byakuya just got wrecked, and the fight just ended, and I was just like, oh, well, you had me, and then you lost me.
See,
and that was basically this arc in a nutshell, was just like, cool things would start happening, and then they would just stop. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, see,
but no,
because my first thought when Byakuya, quote-unquote, died, was that he wasn't dead. Because, like, there's been tons of times where characters have thought characters were dead, or pretended they were dead for morale reasons, but it's like...
Is it because he's up against the wall with this big splatter of blood? Well, that means nothing. This is Bleach.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because his head isn't destroyed. Like, maybe is he supposed to have a hole in him? It could be. Like,
although then again, Dean got slashed once and he died, so it's.
Well, that was by Aizen. He's magic and special, so.
But no, I didn't really get the feeling that Byakuya should have died here, because then like if he dies here, you don't get the moment later with him and Rukia.
That was what I was gonna say, because if people thought like. Kenpachi, I never even I don't know when. Maybe he's supposed to die later, because I don't know. But like with Byakuya, it's like no, his death because supposedly I want to check something real quick, because supposedly what I heard is like fangirls like sent Kubo death threats because they thought Byakuya was dead, which is like fucking shitty, but like it makes sense. Like I understand he's a popular character. He just killed off a popular character, so I understand why people would do that. I don't think it's right. I think it's kind of shitty. But
so did Kishimoto also get death threats when he, quote unquote, killed Kakashi? Is this just a thing that happens with Shonen Jump because?
Maybe
because Shonen fans are idiots.
Well, but see, it doesn't work because like neither Byakuya or Kakashi die. Neither of their deaths work. So, but I mean, check it. Ugh.
See, because like the video that I saw had like the image that they used with like, oh, Kenpachi should have died was when when he confronted Yuobak, and I was like, no, because especially like Byakuya's maybe could have made sense, but he had a moment later, so it was like, well, of course if he had died there, then that moment with Rukia wouldn't have happened later. Well, I'm just gonna say it now because I don't care much about this arc, but like you don't get like if you want to talk about passing on to the next generation or whatever, like wouldn't Rukia be that for Byakuya, the younger sister? So, like, there you go.
Right, and then, of course, with Unohana and Kenpachi, like I said earlier, like, they both get moments like that, so you can't just, so, like, I guess, because one thing I just checked because I wasn't sure about is, like, how soon was Byakuya mentioned to be alive, and there was a bit of a gap. Because the thing with Shonen Jump is, like, usually, like, 3 chapters or so are done at a time. So, like, when the chapter where Byakuya was published was, where Byakuya was supposedly dead was published, the next chapter or 2 were already written and ready, I guess in editing, like the editors, or I don't remember exactly how the process goes, but they usually have a short backlog. Basically, they're not like literally running up to the wire. But like, so yeah, with that in mind, like if it was like literally the next chapter and Byakuya is fine, like no, it wouldn't work that way, because that's just not how Shonen Jump is published. But no, it was a bit of a gap. So yeah, in that I can see why people might think that. But again, there was the moment later, which makes me think it was never really intended. It was just Kubo kind of doing his Kubo's things, because he's done that before. Like I said, where he's like, the character. No, they didn't. They're fine.
This wasn't.
He wasn't really fine. He was pretty beat up. But
no, I never really had like, as far as like fake out deaths. I never really had a moment like with Pain and Hinata, where Pain like stabs her but doesn't really kill her.
Right, well, because it's like the characters in Naruto are way more squishy. Like, there's a lot of healing and stuff, but when they get hurt, you like Sasuke got impaled by Madara and he was like fucking dead. This is Bleach. The Bleach characters are insanely resilient with some, except for Gin apparently, unless it's Aizen, so I don't even know. But yeah. So, but anyway, so yeah, that's my general thoughts on the Byakuya and Kenpachi thing. And then anyway, speaking of passing the torch, I didn't realize the pun there. Yamato goes fucking wild. He fucking just burns the guy, his fucking like skull to ashes, and it's like, Jesus Christ, this dude Yamato is not fucking around. Like, that was pretty cool. Just watching Yamato just fuck shit up. I was enjoying it.
Yamamoto?
What?
You keep saying Yamato, unless I'm just not hearing you correctly.
Yamamoto, sorry. Or you wait, who am I talking about? Yamamoto?
You're talking about the bald old man, right? Again, when you say Yamamoto?
Yamamoto, okay. I was missing a syllable, I'm sorry.
It's like Yamato's the useless guy from Naruto that nobody remembers.
That's why I kept using his name, because I forgot the character. Fire, not wood. Fire beats wood.
What I did want to mention though, like we talked about, like there's obviously like the moment, well, like I guess to go back to like my thoughts on this arc, where like I would be set up with expectations and then kind of get let down when things just ended. But like as I went further along in the arc, my issues that I had like in the moment with the previous stretch of chapters would get like erased. So like with Byakuya, with that fight with the fear guy, I was like, oh, that just kind of ended. That was disappointing. But then obviously it was revisited later, so it was like, oh, okay, that's fine. Right. Then with Kenpachi, when first of all, I will say that like Kenpachi makes a good entrance, because when he shows up with just like the dead guy
he's
slung over his shoulder,
like everyone else is like losing their shit and just completely unable to handle even one guy, and Kenpachi comes in and is like, oh yeah, those 3 guys killed him. Fucking Kenpachi. So like, because it makes perfect sense. He doesn't have a Bankai to seal, so he's just like, no.
And I do kind of like how he gets that page where he kind of like talks about the guys he fought. Like, oh, this guy was explaining his power to me, so I just sliced him in half. And this guy was doing this, so I just killed him. But then like the thing with Kenpachi so that initially had like disappointed me, but you know, going back to it now, it kind of like, if you want to sell like how powerful this Yuobak guy is, Kenpachi, the guy who has been built up, like Soul Reapers had gotten built up as like being really strong, but Kenpachi, like in every arc, he has moments where, like, I feel like Kubo was like protecting this guy to show that like he's this super strong, but by having him kind of away, like when everybody fought Aizen, Kenpachi wasn't there. So, like, everyone got defeated, but Kenpachi wasn't defeated. So, like, that still holds Kenpachi up on, like, a higher pedestal. But then, like, he just gets beaten off screen here, and it's like, wait, what? No. That was another moment where I was excited. Of
course, it makes, like, total sense when you go back to it later. But, go on. It
was another one of those moments where I was excited to see a big fight, because, like, Byakuya had just gone down, and I was let down from that previous fight because it just ended. Then Kenpachi showed up, and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. He's going to fight the big boss and probably get defeated, but it's still going to be a cool fight. Nope, just defeated off screen.
Yeah, I thought it was fine, though. But
especially because, like, later he gets more to do, so it was fine. But, yeah.
So anyway, after Yamamoto fights for a bit, which was cool. Like, I've realized that I'm very shit at determining what is Bankai and what is Shikai. Like, he didn't use his Bankai at all before this point. Like, all his fire shit, that was just his Shikai. Like, and I'm like, oh, okay, now he's using his Bankai. And then he also summoned zombies and shit.
There was also the thing that, like, in the Arankar arc, his fire ability was sealed, but I'm guessing it came back after Aizen was captured.
Well, there was the what's it called, the Arankar 2, so
I don't entirely remember what the details were of the sealing of the fire for him to get it back now, so I'll just assume it's fine.
Was it quite... Well, because wasn't he using it? Yeah, he sacrificed his arm to try and get Aizen, so I think he beat up the Arankar and he was kind of able to use it again, but then there was the explosion thing that he had to block off with his body, that which is how Aizen won, basically. So I don't remember the whole details, but I just realized something that it weirded me out at first, because there was the bit where like Yamamoto was burning, and Yuobak was like going through like the corpses that he was animating, and like Yamamoto was like, oh, your tears, you know, because you're going through your subordinates. And I thought, that's kind of weird. That doesn't seem like the same character who was killing 2 of his own men brutally earlier. But then I remembered, thinking about it just now, that's not Yuobak. That's like the twin, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, so that's not, because the thing is, he can't really cry because he's, the fire is evaporating all the water. By the way, the art, the fucking slash with the kanji and the fucking, like, apparently some people think like Kubo's art isn't as there's some good art here. There's some good art this stretch of chapters. It looks great. But anyway, my point was like, well, because I realized is that like obviously the failing of the Vandenreich is that I'm probably butchering. I can't speak English, let alone German. So I'm probably butchering my pronunciation. Sorry, pronunciation. Ugh. See, I can't even speak English. I just proved it. Well, because, you know, the thing with Yuobak is that everyone sacrifices themselves for him. Like, you see that with the twin. You know, he let himself die so Yuobak could go say sup to Aizen. and then you have everyone who's given their soul to Yuvok and is set to die. Like, they're all offering themselves to him. But then, that, which is obviously, like, if there's no passing of the torch here, they're passing it to the one above them. And so that's kind of what you have with the twin, is he sacrificed himself for Yuvok. So I was thinking about it, I was like, is this an ass pull? But then I realized, no, it makes sense. It fits thematically. It's fine. So yeah. And I realized something that I hadn't last time about the tears thing, because I was kind of bugged, like, what? Well, that doesn't make sense. But no, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, so Yamamoto, I said Yamato again. He exerts all his effort trying to kill Yuvok, except it wasn't actually Yuvok. So he gets fucked up and ultimately dies.
What did sort of throw me off with this fight was, like, all the boasting Yamamoto was doing, because that didn't feel like a Yamamoto thing. Like, all throughout the fight, like, I could tell he was gonna lose, because he's all like, oh, I have this power, and you can't stop me, and blah. So it's like, yeah, of course you're gonna lose.
See, I'm trying to remember, because he's definitely, like, confident, like, like the moment back in the Arncar, where he was like, oh, you sealed my fire. I guess I'll just have to beat the shit out of you with my bare hands. So, it's not...
Yeah. I guess it's not out of character for him. It just felt weird in the moment.
He's also super fucking mad because, like, his, like, friend of, like, 1,000 years is dead. So, I don't know. I didn't bother it because we haven't really seen him in this kind of, like, this exact situation. Like, this is way worse than anything he's been through, but, like, we've seen him go through, compare, like, all he's really done is, like, the Arncar stuff, and even then, he was, like, pretty not in danger, relatively speaking, until Aizen, like, was, being a tricky boy, but this was, like, obviously a very different situation, so, nothing about it really bugged me, so. Though I do want to add, is that, like, I think it's, because the thing with, like, Naruto is that they bring in the whole future thing, like, but it's kind of throughout, basically, especially like the first arc I really remember that went into it was the Akatsuki suppression. But here they're kind of only really going into it in the last arc, which I think is interesting because they're thinking about the future most strongly at the end, which makes sense, it's almost over, so it's kind of weird to be thinking about the after the end in the beginning. Because that's the thing, is like, the future, like, the passing of the torch thing, it's not, like, Naruto can't surpass the next generation in, like, I mean, he kind of does with the Akatsuki suppression, but it doesn't surpass all of it, because there's still Obito and Madara, who he doesn't surpass until the end, and Kaguya, so, I mean, yeah, we knew about Madara at that point, so.
Although I do feel like, this wasn't where Kubo, I think, had initially wanted to end the series at the end of this arc, so, like, I could have, or I don't even know if this would have been, like, where it is in the story.
No, this is oh, how do you mean?
Because like,
it started
Kubo,
saying
he was having his health problems, so he, like,
yes,
he wanted to end Bleach on his own terms, so I'd assume he cut the series short, and
well,
so,
this
like,
arc was supposed to be the final one. Like, even in the early volumes, it says it's the final arc, and I remember when the arc started that it was supposed to be the last one. I remember hearing it. That was how it was advertised in Jump. Well, it was, this is the final arc. It was just going to be a really long arc, and I guess it wasn't quite as long as it was supposed to be. But I guess we'll see.
Oh, maybe I just misinterpreted what was said then. I thought it was like he chose, like, going into it that this would be the final arc because, his health. But I might have been wrong. Maybe I'm just misinterpreting interviews or something. I don't know. Like, I don't even know if they're interviews.
We'll see how the ending
going
goes.
Off hearsay.
And I might look up some stuff to be sure of some things. So yeah, Yamamoto dies. Fuck. Just kill me. So yeah, Byakuya is alive. We already talked about that. And Ichigo finally arrives. God, I love the pages when Ichigo shows up. Like, his fucking face is so, like, so much. There's so much detail on it. Like, oh, it looks good. Like, God. But Ichigo tries to fight Yobak and gets completely destroyed. Well, I mean, and then we find out about the Quincy thing. Though what's weird is that he calls him my son born in the darkness, which is, he's a Quincy born from, the Soul Reaper Hollow thing. Like, he's definitely an anomaly. But I don't know, for some reason I didn't catch the significance of the my son bit. Well, I guess we hadn't known that Yobak was, like, literally the father of all Quincy's. So, But yeah, Ichigo gets defeated. Yobak leaves. Was there anything else to say?
I can't think of any other fights.
I think it's about done. But yeah, everyone's... Well, I mean, everything's over. Yamamoto's dead. I think it was the 8th squad captain, whose name I still don't remember. He becomes the new head commander. He even has an eye patch now because he lost an eye in the fighting. Gotta give him something to make him more leaderly, I suppose. Oh yeah, Kon comes back.
Yay!
Your favorite. Yeah, when that happened, I was like, oh no. Like, I get, the levity thing, but it's like, well, because that's the thing, the training arc did have a lot more levity, kind of bridging it between the fucking horrible invasion of, like, shit, everything going wrong, and obviously the final stuff, which is gonna have more rough shit, so, but Kon, it's like, why Kon? Oh, man. But I mean, like, see, because what I personally think is a bit more well executed than Kon is that, like, when Squad Zero comes down, and they're all these fucking dorky weirdos, but, like, that kind of works because they're obviously very disconnected from what's going down in Soul Society. Like, they don't really care. Like, everything's horrible, and they're just like, oh, sup, we're all dorks and weirdos. Like, it just further sells just how disconnected they are from Soul Society. So, see, that I thought was fine. But Colin is just like, why does this character still exist?
That's just... Because I was even... Something I didn't mention earlier, but like when we started the arc and we were introduced to those 2 new characters who were going in to be the Soul Reapers in Karakura Town, it's like, why do we need 2 new characters? Like the guy, the boy who was like useless and stuff. Like, aren't there other characters that could have filled the role? I mean, not like they mattered because they're already irrelevant for the rest of the story.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure there were just 2 for just the way it was sort of framed with the flashback, and you had the guy, he looked over and he saw the girl in the Hollow's mouth. Like, there's a different, like, if he was alone, that couldn't have been done. But yeah, I understand, like, seeing other characters we're familiar with, but at the same time, they're also junior Soul Reapers, so, I don't know.
Because, like, I don't know, I don't know if it would have necessarily worked as well, but I'm thinking, like, useless young kid guy, Hanataro exists. I mean, he did show up in this arc for,
I guess
like,
he's healing squads, so that's he wouldn't be patrolling in Karakura Town, so.
But yeah, it's time for another training arc.
Yep. Well, I did like the world building. Like, we kind of find out, oh yeah, this guy made the Zanpakuto, or this guy decided the names. That this guy is a healer boy. So, oh yeah, we got a little bit of a Kukaku. Again, just like just a little callback. I was surprised because I didn't expect to see the character again, and Ganju with the Fullbringers.
Oh, is that who Ganju was with? I didn't even notice.
Yeah, like, you could see, that's the, like, Tsukishima. I had to look it up. Because I was so fucking confused. Because I thought Ganju died. And he did. So he's in Soul Society, because he died.
Wait.
So... Because I don't think...
Do you mean Ginjo?
I don't think Ginjo.
So I was going to say, Ganju was the one from the very beginning who didn't die, but got all cut up by Byakuya.
Okay, Ganju's the guy who's talking to Kukaku, and Ginjo's there on the right. That's Ginjo in the leather jacket.
Oh, yeah, I guess I see it now. I'm looking at the panel now.
Yes.
Oh, no, that means the big bulky suit guy is... I hope he doesn't get a fight. His power was so boring.
Yeah, because he died too. Maybe Tsukishima did die. I don't remember.
Tsukishima did die.
Oh, okay, I forgot.
He got messed up, and then his assistant guy was carrying him off as he was like, oh, the sunrise.
Oh.
So, yeah, died.
Okay.
Dead.
Okay, so he's with the dead ones. That makes sense. Now everything makes sense. Because I forgot, I didn't even think about the clock dude who got big. I was like, I was like, oh yeah, Kenpachi did kill him. So, okay, everything makes sense now. Though apparently, like, well, because I vaguely remember a comment from a while ago where pointing out, because the thing with, remember Chad's parrot? The ghost boy? Who, like, I guess, yeah, because we've already had established that when souls pass on, they literally just go, so souls say. And yeah, this is the first arc or last arc rather, where humans have died. So yeah, it makes sense that they're alive. They're quote unquote like. That's the thing, is the series has always been about the dead. It's usually been about the dead. So when the dead die, they reincarnate. So it makes sense that they actually die. But these are humans who died, so that they just went to Soul Society. That's the thing. You die in Bleach and you go to Japan, to feudal Japan. So yeah, it makes sense. Like, I guess, yeah, they didn't die, but they did. So I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I think like, that's interesting. Because, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's probably just Ganju with his henchmen, and I just kind of glossed over it. But no, that's interesting. Now I'm interested to see what they do there.
There was nothing else he could do. Like, he couldn't kill them. How is he going to contrive? Like, I guess he could have contrived a way to kill them twice if he really wanted to kill them off. But instead he found some use for them that we don't know about in the 1,000-Year Blood War, because it's I don't know. I'm assuming he comes back in the second half. Well, I did. I looked it up, and Ginjo does show up again. At least him. I don't remember. I kind of glossed over what he does, but like I said, I had to look it up because I was like, what the fuck? I didn't expect the Fullbringers to come back. Well, I mean, maybe the living ones like Rukia and Shishigama, and I thought Tsukishima was alive, but I missed that. Whoops. Oh boy. So yeah, this is like I said, this arc is just like one what the fuck moment after another, sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. This one's fine though. Like, again, I don't know what Kubo could have done. So yeah, Ichigo heals up, and then we find out that the pleasant healer lady, Unohana, is also the first Kenpachi, the first leader of the 11th Squadron, and also called Yachiru, which, if I remember correctly, is the name of Kenpachi's assistant commander, right? That's Yachiru, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, like the face in the shadow and just the name. It's like, what the fuck? Like, again, what the fuck moment's just happening right after the other.
I mean, it's not. This is one of those instances where, like, because Kubo has so many characters and he doesn't have to use them all in the beginning, like, he can pull out a reveal like this and it's fine because the character hasn't really been a character up to this point, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
because like we didn't really know anything about Unohana. Later. She didn't really do anything other than heal people before this. So like,
and then of course we found out like, oh, this is why she's a healer. Oh, because she like, I'm just imagining her like fighting a guy and liking it, so she heals him back up so she can fight him again. That kind of shit. Like, whereas Kenpachi's kind of, well, we'll get into that later because they have their fight. Because I definitely think Kenpachi's thing is pretty interesting. Like because it's been built up to, definitely, like they directly mention his fight against Ichigo and his fight against Noitoro, where it's like he struggled against these guys who he really should have been able to just destroy. So yeah. Because again, I was kind of spoiled on his arc from someone else, so I've kind of always known about it, but seeing the resolution was still nice. Okay, and now that we're going back through the training again, more things are clicking into place. You know, because when they fight the Asauchi, you know, Renji, he wins, he beats up his Asauchi and keeps going, but Ichigo loses. And, you know, but then we find out later, after he learns his shit, like, I think his thing was that, you know, he didn't understand the Quincy part of him. So I don't quite know that what that means on like a character level again, because again, there's been no final payoff. I've heard Ichigo gets his payoff, but it's so, you know, he goes back to Karakura Town. He meets his dad. He gets his whole backstory, and then he comes back and he doesn't fight the Asauchi. He like, you know, he, you know, grabs its hand and it becomes like the hollow. So, and the Quincy and hollow parts of him, it's his mom. It's so, you know, it makes sense that, like, well, because the way I see it is like Renji, he's an enemy of the Quincy's. He's a Soul Reaper, so he wins by fighting. But Ichigo is a Quincy, so he can't just fight that part of himself. He has to accept it. So, and that's what the backstory, you know, was him fighting. You know, him learning that, you know, the significance of his Quincy heritage and, you know, accepting it. So yeah, makes sense. God. And then we get this fucking panel. I gotta put this one on screen because it's Unohana looking all spooky as she's about to fight Kenpachi. She's just like Kubo's art is good, okay? Like, if I had fucking $200 to throw around, I'd get, because apparently he's releasing an art book soon, if it's not already out. And I'm tempted. Like, I don't have $150, but if I did. So did you have anything to say about the Kenpachi Unohana fight?
We learned more about Kenpachi. Unohana finally got to do something.
Yes,
that's
nice.
about it.
And of course, there's the torch fight. Well, it's like I think I like Kenpachi's thing. Like seeing it like this, I realized like it's interesting. Well, because it's like the good guy. When a character wins after like a fight, they're always at their last legs. It's just the genre. That's how it goes. But Kenpachi's a character who loves that. He wants that. He wants to be on his last legs because that's the thrill he got addicted to that he needed to, move beyond. He needed to learn to use his power.
And because he's so strong, he always has to handicap himself.
Exactly,
because he wants that.
Since the beginning. Right, because he wants that thrill of, like, we knew he liked fighting, but now we know what it is about fighting he liked. Like, I kind of recognized that he liked the struggle, otherwise he wouldn't handicap himself. But now we know specifically what he wanted, that adrenaline from being at the edge of, life and death in a battle for his life. And so it makes sense. It is cool and interesting because, like, again, it's like that he's addicted to something that happens in the genre a lot, and it's kind of like with Hisoka a bit, where it's like Hisoka likes to fight in an action manga, so he's the perfect character because Hisoka can do anything for a fight, because he will do anything for a fight. And Kenpachi's like that, just for tension. Like, the only reason Ichigo won was because Kenpachi's a fucking idiot, because he needs that thrill. So it's like an interesting character flaw, and it makes sense. And but it's also good for an action story, just like Hisoka is good for an action story. So it's like, yeah.
But then you also do,
Kenpachi's
like,
good.
The Hisoka comparison works here as well, because you get the other side of that, where if a character is not going to present even a modicum of an interesting threat, then they don't care. Like, Hisoka will just cut, like the one guy, he fought in the Hunter exam, he just beats him quickly, because, like, there's no promise out of that guy.
Right. He'll end a fight quickly if they're boring, but if it's like Gon, sure, he could end it quickly. I'm sure like in the Heaven's Arena, he could have just murdered Gon if it fucking felt like it. But he didn't, because he thought he's interesting. He's got potential. He could be someone who could fight, make a good fight with his.
Yes.
They have Kenpachi's kind of similar with Ichigo, even not quite that directly, but yeah. And yeah, because Kenpachi's the same way. I loved at the end of Soul Society when he was like, "Hey Ichigo, you feeling better? You want to fight?" And Ichigo's like, "No," but he jumps out the fucking window.
And there was also the moment I liked in the Fullbring arc, where he just cut the guy in half, and one strike and the battle was over. Because he was bored.
Boring. I'm bored. Oh, man.
So, like, Kenpachi's character isn't complex, but, like, it's good. It's good for, like he's perfect for this kind of genre. Or, not genre. Right. Shonen action's not a genre, but, like, for an action genre story. For a Shonen Jump narrative, he works really well.
Yes, and that's why he's so good. Like, every time he shows up, I'm like, yeah, fucking Kenpachi. I love Kenpachi. Oh, man. But yeah, I'm not sure if I have anything to say yet. We'll talk more about Kenpachi later. But yeah, he does win. Unohana dies. And Kenpachi is truly Kenpachi. The Kenpachi, rather. The torch is passed, and because, he's got things in the future to look forward to. So there's other fights. Like, as Unohana points out, like, there's other strong people around him, like Ichigo, and, he's got the Quincy's, who are some strong guys, so he's got dudes to fight. So he can't die. And this fucking sword starts talking to him, of course, because he's changed a bit, so, yeah. I'd be very surprised if he ever actually got his Bankai, but we do get his Shikai later, so that's cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at this point, if Kenpachi gets a Bankai, I might actually be disappointed, because we've gone so long without getting it. It's like, why Kenpachi doesn't need one.
Right, that's his whole... Well, see, actually, I thought about it now that he's actually been able to use his Shikai. His men no longer need to fear using their Shikai. They can just do it. So...
Yeah, because
I wonder if that's going to come up again if we see Ikkaku or...
that's also part of Kenpachi's character journey, is that, like, way back when he fought Ichigo, it's part of the thing was, like, he didn't recognize his sword. He just... it's all destroyed and, well, not destroyed, but, like, the edge is dulled, it's, like, rusty, it's, like, blech. He doesn't... he didn't recognize his sword, so that's like part of his arc, I would imagine. So like if he gets a Bankai, it would make sense as like the conclusion to that. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like the Shikai is enough. Like,
yeah, like
because that's the thing. He finally understood himself. Like that, he, because I only just now connected to the whole Buddhist thing with the self-understanding, and Kenpachi now understands.
Yeah, and if you want to tie it to Ichigo, like Ichigo, there was the one chapter titled like "The Blade is Me" or whatever. So like the sword is you. So like for Kenpachi, he understands himself, so he's able to recognize his sword,
right,
and use Shikai. Yeah.
So
you might have been going there, and I just kind of stole your thunder, but
no, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah. So I don't think he necessarily needs a Bankai. But it might, yeah, because that would, yeah, I feel, I don't know. See, I was just wondering, because where the stretch of chapters ended, it's like we gotta save Kenpachi. He's like our strongest dude. We can't let him die, and so that makes me think he's going to get another fight, after, because he just had the fight against the imagination guy, because I'm good with names. So yeah, we'll see where he goes. So yeah, Ichigo fails his training. I kind of already talked about that a bit, but I guess now he finally goes home. And so what did you think about Ichigo's parents' backstory with Masaki and Ishin meeting up?
I mean, I don't really have anything to like dig into about it. Like there were good world building details. Like it makes sense how Ichigo is what he is. You learn a little more about Ishin, but yeah. Like, not that I have a problem with it, but like, I don't have much to say about it.
Also, it was kind of weird seeing it with Matsumoto and Hitsugaya. Like, it makes sense that this didn't happen that long ago, because Soul Reapers last a while. So, it was just weird seeing him, like, with these characters I'm familiar with, and, like, they're with, like, Ichigo's dad. Like, I'm used to Hitsugaya and Matsumoto being around Ichigo, not Ichigo's dad, like a younger Ichigo's dad. It's just weird. I was going to say something. Oh yeah, this arc, this is what made me realize how similar this arc was to the Kyuubi taming, where you have the main character training right before a big battle, and we learn about his parents. So,
yeah.
Yeah, right? It's like, wait, this is really similar. In that, like, basic structural way.
So we're getting the pain arc, we're getting the Kyuubi taming, and then we're getting the ninja war.
Like, all in just, like, to it. So, yeah, and people say Bleach is slow. No, it just goes through, like, half a Naruto in, like, one arc. Wow, what do you know? Because, I mean, Bleach does have less arcs than Naruto. Like, that's the thing. It's, like, with Naruto, you have, like, Hebi, which is, like, 3 arcs in one. But with Bleach, you have the Blood War, which is, like, also 3 arcs in one. And the Arrancar arc, which is also 3 arcs in one. So it can have more arcs if you stretch it out, but it also doesn't work, because I do feel like, especially the 1,000-Year Blood War is definitely one cohesive arc. I feel the same way about the Arrancar stuff too, honestly. But yeah, I'm not sure what else I have to say. You know, Misaki is cute, I guess. There's the Hollow, Aizen's deal. He hollowifies her, and, you know, she meets Ishin, and, you know, Urahara talks about the opposite things. And we see Gin for, like, a panel.
Gin! He came back!
Your favorite moment in, like, the whole stretch of chapters.
Pretty much, yeah, but he's still dead, so then it's also my least favorite moment, because it reminded me that he's dead.
Rest in peace.
Tosen was there, too. Can't forget about Tosen.
Yep, Tosen's there, too. But yeah, I can't think of any, because I feel like I've already kind of talked about it. Like, I talked about why it matters for Ichigo, and how he overcomes the training. I talked about, like, how the Quincy and Hollow sides are very, intertwined. Because, I guess that's the thing, is, like, after it's done, we get the Zangetsu stuff. And that we can talk about. Oh, no, actually, there was one more thing I want to talk about. Because I might have missed something. Because Ishin points out that, Masaki shouldn't have died. Like, she still had her Quincy powers. She should have been able to defeat Grand Fisher easily. And yet... Oh, wait, hold on, no. See, maybe I missed something.
So was it, like, also around that same time that Yubak, took all the powers from the non-pure blood Quincy's, and I guess because she had been attacked by the Hollow, so she
wasn't pure. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. Well, because the other thing about the Quincy's is that, like, especially if they've, given part of their soul to Yoabak and gotten some in return, then they're like set to die eventually. So, okay, yeah, now I understand. Like, cause I'm just skimming through it, and he explains, the Quincy stuff, and I'm like, wait, how? But how does that now? Okay, so, fuck! Oh, I just realized. How I talked about. I mean, I was sort of like grabbing complaints I just heard generally about Grand Fisher, like how Ishin kills Grand Fisher. It means that Ichigo's grief is done. He's or like the character who killed his mom. He doesn't get the personal what's it called? The personal fulfillment of having killed the one who killed his mom. But Grand Fisher didn't kill his mom. It was Yuavak. So yeah, makes me think that Kubo had this in mind the whole time. So like obviously we didn't get the payoff, but yeah, there's the like personal connection. It's like Yuavak basically killed his mom, so now he's got to deal with his grief, again. So I guess I was wrong.
Okay.
I guess I was wrong earlier because I was like, oh yeah, Ishin, Grand Fisher getting killed by Ishin is the story moving on past grief, but the grief hasn't really gone away. Like now Ichigo's wound is reopened with his mom. I was Yamamoto dying.
So it was
like,
more like
there's a very fresh grief for everyone.
So would you say it's more like they thought Grand Fisher killed the mother, so they thought they had moved beyond grief, but because he didn't actually kill her, they didn't actually move on? Like, there's a parallel there?
Ishin, because with Ishin, he never blamed Grand Fisher. Like, the thing is that if Yuabak never took, if her powers weren't sealed and nothing happened or whatever, then Grand Fisher would have been destroyed. Yeah. And even Ishin even said like hollows do as hollows do. Like he didn't begrudge Grand Fisher for killing her, because it was only like a matter of time, considering she was a Quincy connected to Yuabak and mixed blood. Like so it's like. So yeah, it makes sense why he didn't have any ill will towards Grand Fisher. He was just doing his job, destroying a hollow who was starting, or Arnkar rather, who was starting shit. So that makes sense. But now I'm wondering if he's going to do some stuff this arc, because with Yuabak it's different. He has a different connection. So I mean he's not going like straight with Ichigo, but I'm wondering, because that's the thing, he's a former captain. But beyond that, like yeah, he was doing stuff in the last arc with Arnkar, not the last arc, the arc before last. So I don't know, maybe he'll do some stuff next arc, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, but my point was like, yeah, I was wrong. I was wrong about the story moving beyond grief. But I do think like, yeah, Grand Fisher he's obviously not relevant to that. Like, especially not anymore. They just thought he was, and Ishin wasn't hung up on Grand Fisher because he kind of always knew. And so that way he just destroys Grand Fisher easily. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Because did you have anything more to say on the flashback?
No.
In Ichigo getting his shit together?
I don't think Discord picked it up, but I said no.
Well, okay, thank you, Discord. Because now we get a little bit of a. I had to stop reading for just a few seconds. Ishida joining Yuavak. I was like, excuse me, hold the fuck up. Ishida, you bitch. What are you doing? So, yeah, we didn't really get payoff to that yet. Like, even later on, it's even specified that if he was there trying to, get information or eventually betray him, like the one Quincy was talking about how his fate was set in stone. But at the same time, there's also... Or what was that?
He trapped now.
Yeah, he's trapped now.
He got himself stuck. Right.
But at the same time, there's definitely the unresolved thread of why Ishida survived the purge. He still has his Quincy powers, and even though he's mixed blood and he's alive, so that we need to I don't really have much to say about Ishida joining Yuabak yet, because I don't know like the full details of it or the significance of it. Though again, there was the one part where the one Quincy was like, I'm worried about the future of the Vandenreich. So it's like, again, just driving home the idea of the torch passing in the future stuff. So, but again, I don't know the full significance yet, and we'll find out in a couple of weeks. But we're not done with this stretch of chapters yet, because we get the other Soul Reapers are training, figuring shit out, getting ready for the invasion. Like we see Komamura, the fox boy. He meets like his elder. Like I remember reading a comment about how like. Well, because the elder even mentions, like, the beast hell, So I'm guessing there's like there's a whole afterlife for beasts where Koma comes from or something. So yeah, just a little maybe it is connected to hell, because I've always felt like, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but like the gatekeeper to hell that the Hollow got thrown into way back in the first arc just kind of reminded me, the way the size of it and the knife kind of just reminded me of Komamura's Bankai a bit. Like, I've always felt that. I forget if I mentioned it before, but so I don't know if Beast Hell and regular Hell are the same, because he's kind of specified Beast Hell. So I don't know. I just a little detail, just a throwaway line. Well, maybe not throwaway line's probably a bit too far, but it's like just a little thing I noticed.
Well, see, this fight with Komamura was interesting because it was going back to the revenge concept that was brought up with Tosen and Gin, and how he was sort of going back on his word. He had told Tosen, "Oh, you're throwing away your life for revenge. Don't do that." But then here he is doing that. But then,
see, and that kind of fight. Well, I mean, you're skipping ahead of it, but it's fine because we'll talk about it now.
Well, you had brought up Komamura, so I was just like, "Oh, we're at the fight."
This is build up to, we're talking to him talking to Elder, where he's got to like give up his heart, and then later we see that he did give up his heart and he's fighting. But what you just made me think of is that Komamura is because I doubt anything up until this point has given him a desire for vengeance. So yeah, he spoke against like Tosen, but he also didn't really understand Tosen. Like the way I just think back to the Valley of the End with Naruto and Sasuke, where Naruto never had family to lose, and so he couldn't understand Sasuke's loss. Komamura never had lost someone to understand the desire for vengeance like Tosen did, so he wasn't truly able to understand Tosen. So that'll be interesting to consider going back to Soul Society and Arrancar, or the fake Karakura town, seeing more of Komamura's side, because now he understands that vengeance and he's felt that desire. So and again, there's not yet full payoff because he won the fight. But I imagine his vengeance would be, or because it's for Yamamoto, right, or just in general. So he just wants the Quincy's to stop, or does he specifically want Yuabak? So I think it was Yuabak. He was like, he was like, finished the fight, and he was like, I gotta get Yuabak, and then the one Soul Reaper started carrying him away, and that was the last time we saw him this stretch of chapters. So not quite resolved, but yeah, it's definitely bringing up the vengeance idea again between. It's in a way, it's definitely like those two mainly, but Gin as well, as we sort of already discussed last time. So it's interesting, and we'll see more of it next time.
And I'm a little curious where it's gonna go, cause like they showed him turning into a beast of revenge, so like that was the price of his vengeance. But then the guy afterwards that carries him off is like, "No, you weren't wrong. You've done nothing wrong. Let's go defeat Yuabak." So. Are they gonna go back on that theme? We'll see.
And if they keep through with it, like, what's the difference between Komamura and Tosen and Gin? Because, well, for one, like, there is already a difference, but like, because with Tosen and Gin, it's like they tried to get closer to the ones they wanted to act their vengeance out upon, and that was their undoing. But Komamura isn't like joining the Quincy's, so there's already a bit of a difference there. Because Gin joined Aizen because he wanted vengeance on Aizen. Tosen joins the Soul Reapers because he wanted vengeance on the Soul Reapers. Komamura just wants vengeance on the Quincy's. He's not joining the Quincy's. So, but I don't know if that's what there's to take it from that yet. So we'll pay attention if Komamura gets another fight or character moment, and if he doesn't, I might have to blame Bleach ending early. Guys, see, that might not be fair though, because like I was about to joke like, yeah, we could just blame everything wrong with Bleach ending early, but it's like the question is like the setup and the payoff. Like with Komamura, there's been a setup, so it's like if there's no payoff and if there's room for payoff, like what about all the other Quincy's? Like, was there room for another fight with Komamura? I don't know. We'll have to read to find out. So yeah, I don't think I had anything else to say on that, because we're almost done with the training. And then we get to Ichigo and his final meeting with Zangetsu. And this is where this shit really blew my mind, because he was like, "Hey, you look like Yuabak," and I was just like, fuck! Fuck! He's always looked like Yuabak. Like, his design hasn't changed. Like, he had this younger form and his hollow form. And that's the thing, Zangetsu has always been, like, not the first time, I don't think... No, even the first time Because the first time he met Zangetsu was in the hole, right? Training with Urahara? Does that sound about right? Right. And what happened at the end of that? He almost turned into a hollow. And his Quincy side and his hollow side have always been closely tied together because that's his mom. The next time he fought Zangetsu, he fought Hollow Ichigo. During Arrancar arc, he fought the combined Zangetsu and Hollow Ichigo, and they were both him. It's all and so they've always been connected, and now we understand why, because we know the whole deal with his mom, and it's Yulabak, because it's a Quincy. And it's just, I couldn't fucking deal with it, okay?
I'm glad you're getting more out of this than I was.
That's fine. But what's kind of interesting is that, like, Yulabak, or Zangetsu, you know, sort of like, he was like, oh, if you become a Soul Reaper, I'll have to kill you. But his mind, it actually reminds me of Kurama a bit, except Kurama is also the final boss, basically, where you have this version of Yulabak inside Ichigo, who's come to understand him through being with him the whole time, and his mind sort of changed. So I feel like it's also setting up for whatever happens with Yulabak, because now we see this potential for it within Yulabak for him to understand Ichigo. So I wonder if that'll be maybe that'll be how it resolves, where Ichigo, who understands all, is understood. You know, because Aizen didn't understand him, but maybe Yulabak will fall because he understands Ichigo, perhaps. Just a random speculation. It's weird to speculate about things that are done, because someone knows, and someone's laughing at me for being wrong, because I just had a random thought. But it's like, yeah, this is, again, building up into the final conflict. So, oh yeah, there was also, someone pointed out to me, it was anonymous on Curious Cat, but unlike, because there's this one volume page here of Zangetsu facing away from the page, like the in-between volume pages, you know, the ones with the white and then the little sketch.
Yeah.
And it's like Zangetsu facing away. And this is like volume 61. Someone pointed out one from like chapter 66 with Zangetsu facing forward in the same spot. So it's like Kubo's callbacks are nuts. Not really nuts. It was just a neat little thing of just Zangetsu like coming in and leaving, you know, just as he did in the story. So, I don't know. This was nuts for me. I was enjoying it, and of course we already talked about his swords. He gets the two swords, you know, duality. You know, he's the Hollow and the Human. He's the Soul Reaper and the Quincy. Makes sense. Actually, because they even look like the swords are... well, no, never mind. That's just all swords. I take it back. I was about to say how, like, they have the black backs and the white blades, but that's just all swords. So I was going to point out how there's, like, 4 colors, but it's all swords. So yeah, Ishida is Yulabak's successor, and we see all the Quincy's be like... they react, and again, kind of building into future stuff with the why is he alive? See, Orihime and Chad are, like, around, but they're not... They're just, like, with Urahara, so... I don't know. No, they didn't do much this stretch of chapters, so... Oh, boy. Well, because it's, like... Well, the thing with Orihime in particular, because I linked to you... I'm going to link more Bleach analysis in the description, because I've gotten more of it. But there was one analysis in particular that was interesting. It was about Orihime, and specifically how her interaction with... How Ulquiorra was different from Orihime's friends. Because the thing with Orihime is that... she's always been protected, so to the point, like, no one let her try to protect herself or protect others. So it's like, the thing is, like, she's useless, but that's because no one lets her be useful until, like, but the analysis went into how Ulquiorra treated her as an equal, like, as he always said, like, you are one of us. He didn't question it. And that sort of gave, and then you could sort of see the change in the Fullbring arc, but the question is, like she's, you know, fighting, she against Ginjo, she, like, uses a reflect thing. Like, she's doing things that Orihime wouldn't have done before. So again, there's still no payoff in this stretch of chapters, but there's definitely character development. The question is, like, if there's a final payoff for it or not. Because if it's just the Fullbringer stuff, then that's only so far. So, I don't know, we'll see. Oh yeah, there was a little bit where, I need to learn this fucker's name, the samurai guy. the current captain of the Squad 1, because he goes to see Ichigo's friends in the human world. What do you think about that?
Is it a Shinsui Kyoraku? That's the guy. I think.
Kyoraku? Is that what you said?
Yeah, samurai guy.
Okay. Yeah, he goes to see Tatsuki and the other two guys who I don't remember. Because he gives them like tickets so that they can go to Soul Society. But he also points out that because the whole thing is that if Ichigo gets too powerful to go back to which makes sense. I mean, he's already really strong because there's the thing about where captains and assistant captains have to have a limiter when they go into the human world, and Ichigo doesn't have that limiter, and they can't really put it on him because he's not a Soul Reaper. So I don't know. I wonder if there's a way. I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna handle it because that's the thing is he's so strong because he's got all the powers. So, but anyway, the fucking Vandenreich reveals their hidden empire that was under Soul Society the whole time. The Kurasuchi. Oh yeah, I think we're fine. Now I skipped way ahead earlier with Kurasuchi because he comes out in his fucking like sun robe, looking like a fucking pimp. Like Kurasuchi, what the fuck? And I think it's here that he mentioned that he's because he was watching Ishida like the whole time, and I think he did know something about like the Yamamoto not having killed all of the Quincy's, so he was just being a sciencey prep boy. So I mean, I'm still not sure about the whole second space underneath Soul Society. Whatever, it's not that big. I don't care. But like, it makes sense for for Kurasuchi to be like his way to get around it with the shadows. So yeah, it's fine. Oh yeah. And then you have the one guy who's in Soifon's team, the big coward dude, who's like, he's with his family, and he finally, he's like, even though a coward, I'm gonna go fight, and then he immediately gets just fucking destroyed, like his family fucking dies, and I'm like, Kubo, that's just rude. You can't do that.
Yeah. See, this was when we started getting into like the second stretch of battles, this is when I really started losing interest, because
this also had definitely like the least engaged, like this was fine, but it's like the Renji fight in particular, that's when I was like, okay, why is this happening?
Yeah,
that was my least favorite part of the stretch chapter.
The superstar fight was the worst. Like I just was not interested from the start, and like captains just kept getting knocked around, and I was like, this is boring.
Here's my Renji rant. What's the fucking point of Renji? No, and that's a bit far. Like, he was fine in Soul Society, I guess, but it's like, because he's like the most important of the Soul Reapers after like Rukia and Byakuya, like maybe even above Byakuya. Like, he's like Ichigo's rival, kind of, and like he's the one who's trains. Like, he's almost like the sixth member to the main group, you could say, right there with Rukia and the four humans. But like, I'm just like reading the fight, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a villain," and I'm like, "Okay." So
that also makes me think of like what's the point of Hitsugaya at this point? Because like his arc was like tied to Hinamori, like he wanted to protect Hinamori, but now
who showed up once, but I don't know. Hitsugaya is probably gonna get more later, because he's fucking Hitsugaya.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
he's like one of the most, most popular characters.
He doesn't really have a purpose to the story at this point, like you were saying with Renji. I mean, like that character conflict is kind of just not there anymore, and like with Renji, I don't even know what Renji has.
His whole thing was like, see, because it's weird, because like the thing about Byakuya maybe dying, like I feel like imagine if Byakuya did die, and so you had Renji fighting the fear guy and surpassing him like that, because back in the day he wanted to surpass Byakuya.
Yeah.
So, or he wanted to dig his fangs into him. I vaguely remember from their fight. I don't know how like a core that was to his character, but then so it's like if the Rukia thing didn't happen, and I was like thinking about Renji's character, but I would be like, okay, why did Byakuya live if like he could, like if his whole thing was if he wanted to surpass Byakuya, but it doesn't matter, because like, well, it's like Rukia, the Rukia moment was good, so I think that was worth, I don't think Byakuya was supposed to die, even though it could have been the case, but if you did bring him back, he made something good out of it, so I'm fine with it. Because that was, like, the Rukia's fight was probably, like, the best moment in this second part of the fight, except for maybe Kenpachi. Maybe. We'll talk about that, I suppose. They were both pretty good. But yeah, it's like, because Soifon was fighting a bit, like, that's the thing, like, I already talked about earlier how everyone's sort of, like, they're changing, they're learning, to refine what they already had, in their Shikais, to stop from being stagnant and evolve like the Quincy's were.
But then,
because for the Soul Reapers, where Bankais have been so fucking important, for them to actually like focus on their Shikai, like that's something.
but then like there are some instances where it does work and some where it doesn't.
It's more of a general thing. Like I'd also like for Rukia. Rukia is a good example because she also grows on a character level. She, her fear was not being recognized by Byakuya. Byakuya finally recognized her, and so she's able to finally have that confidence and achieve her Bankai. But it's like, but for like Hitsugaya, it's just like the bare minimum, basically. Like the fact that he grew is like fits thematically. So it's like, it's not much, but it's like, okay, sure. Like he didn't, like where was their character growth? Like, I don't know. Like Hitsugaya he's very, like, he's not even like Kakashi or Jiraiya. Like Kakashi or Jiraiya, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're popular, they're fine characters. I don't particularly connect to them. They're not my favorite characters in the series, but they're fine. Hitsugaya is like super popular, and I don't like, okay, he's like a kid, but he's actually strong, and he's got ice powers. Like, I don't take it much from him, so, like, again, I'm not gonna begrudge his popularity. We talked about it back during the polls. Like, you liked Gin a lot just for aesthetic reasons. I thought Yachiru was cute just for aesthetic reasons. It's kind of weird for like thousands of people to think Hitsugaya is like the best character on purely aesthetic reasons, or maybe there's something about his character I'm forgetting or don't remember. I don't know, but like I don't know. I'm not behind the Hitsugaya hype yet. I could see people disliking him because he gets so much focus relatively, like because like I talked about with the last arc. Did he really need to be there with all the people who fought Ichigo and were friends with Ichigo? Maybe not, but.
See, I know, like, in Fullbring, what was it? Hitsugaya just kind of felt like a character, like, he wasn't connected to the whole people Ichigo had fought before, so, like, I don't know, he just felt like the guy who was kind of there, and I feel like with Renji, there's been something sort of similar, like, even in the Arrancar arc, like, what did Renji really contribute to the narrative? He's just kind of there.
Fight, NC was something sexist, like, he was being sexist, but he won anyway.
Like, I guess we did say that there was like a little bit between Renji and Ishida at the time. We didn't. I think we did. I don't even remember
Ishida.
anymore.
Well, because he beat Ishida, and I was thinking, oh, maybe there'll be a revenge match, and there wasn't one.
See, I feel like another problem, maybe not necessarily, kind of a problem with Bleach is that like there is no real like distinct rival character. Like, I feel like it's tough coming straight off of Naruto because I feel like Naruto has one of the best rival like dynamics. Like the story hinges upon the rivalry. Yeah. But even just compared to someone like Goku and Vegeta, like it's very clear once Vegeta gets there that like that's their dynamic. Right.
And if it's not clear after the Saiyan arc, it's and when Goku spares him, it's clear on Namek. Yeah. When And especially, and of course, it really starts having a cell.
But like, who is it for Ichigo? It's like Ishida. Yeah,
like coming off of Naruto, it's like Naruto and Sasuke. Like I'm like, okay, Gon and Killua are good, but they're not really rivals.
Yeah, they're not rivals.
They're just friends. They're not like. Are they really rivals? They're not like pushing each other in the same way. They're growing together, but they're not like fighting each other. Or nor do they. Killua doesn't want to fight Gon. They're not really rival characters. No, so they're a good duo, but it's not really the same. Compared to Goku, Vegeta, or Naruto and Sasuke.
It's not like a narrative needs to have that rival character, because I don't think Hunter x Hunter, I guess, has Hisoka, but
Hisoka's closer. Yeah, I would say that.
But even then, I don't know if that's.
But even
like
then, he's not like a main character. It's a little different. Yeah, he's more of a. Well, he's weird because he's like we were talking about earlier. He works as like he just wants to fight, so he works as protagonist, antagonist, whatever works, as long as he's getting a good fight or a conflict. So
anyways,
Bleach doesn't have a solid like rival in that way.
Although it's not like
it has its antagonists, but
like as I just said with Hunter x Hunter, it's not like a story needs to have a rival character in order to function as a good shonen, because Hunter x Hunter doesn't really have a rival character, but it works. But then like for Bleach, it feels kind of like Ishida or Renji are like supposed to be that rival character, but they're really not.
Yeah, like for Ishida, it's like kind of they're up to Soul Society, and I'm like thinking like, what did Ishida do? Like Ishida was a little bit more active in What did he do in Arrancar?
No,
Ishida was there in Arrancar. He went in then with Huacamundo. That's right. I just forgot. I don't think he got a lot of major fights, but yeah, he wasn't really like, he was just kind of there with Ichigo, like helping get Orihime back.
There isn't really at any point
also
where
true of Soul Society.
where I don't remember really anything where Ishida, like, usually, like, the rival dynamic is like, I have to surpass this guy, I have to get stronger than this person for, whatever reason. There's nothing really like that with
and if that was the case with Ishida, he would have given up in Soul Society after fucking Ichigo's growth was fucking wild. So yeah, but
so maybe that's
the
just
other thing is that what I was gonna say was
I was gonna say maybe that's just kind of why Renji feels weirdly like out of place, because like if he was maybe supposed to take over as rival from Ishida, but Ishida
kind of like he was there training in Soul Society, like, oh, I'll train my Bankai up too and whatever, but it's like, yeah, he's kind of there. He's like a friend of Rukia. He's just kind of there. Like that. I guess that's my issue with him, is he feels like he's rude motorcycle. He's kind of like Chad in that, like, he feels like he should be a main character, but he kind of isn't. Like, or Sakura almost. Like Orihime has had some like notable growth. Maybe not as much payoff, but it's like it's there. Ishida. Rukia's good. She's good. She's getting fights. Yeah, Ishida's got his fights too. Ichigo's obviously the main character, but I guess Renji does get fights, but it's at the same time, it's just like, what is his character? Like, I've never felt a thing for Renji since maybe in Soul Society a little bit, but like
part
then
of the
it's just
issue
like, okay, Renji exists
with like the structure of Bleach as well is that just because a character gets fights doesn't necessarily mean that they're of the utmost importance, because think of how many characters in Bleach get fights. Like, even in the Arrancar arc, there was, like, the thing with Ikkaku, he got a fight, and, like, unless he gets something like the payoff to that in the next stretch of chapters, he's not going to get a payoff from that whole, oh, you shouldn't hold back. So, like,
yeah.
It was just a fight that just existed there. So, like, just because a character gets a fight doesn't inherently make it an important fight or make it an important character moment. So, like, you had said before that, like, you were freaking out about, like, oh my god, Ishida is here. I didn't really get that feeling, because Ishida just doesn't... Like, I don't really know what his role in the story is. What does he... Like, maybe he'll get to... Like, we'll find out in part 2 whether it's okay that he's included or not. Like, if he gets something to do. But... it doesn't really matter to me, because Ishida just beyond, like, I think I kind of lost interest in him after Soul Society, because he started feeling like he felt less like Ishida, like I don't know, like, in Soul Society he was able to be serious but also kind of be quirky at the same time and still kind of do things, but in Arrancar he was just kind of there, full bring, like, he could have done more and he didn't really, and now we're here, and... Yeah. I don't...
So I get what you mean. I mean, I was just like surprised. Like, well, I think it surprised me because I hadn't thought about Ishida in a while, and then when he showed up, I was like, it kind of makes sense while you're here, but it also doesn't at all. So what the fuck are you doing, Ishida? Well, because I mean, the whole last arc was trust, and here he is being a dick. So it's there's a thing that I need. I don't know. We'll find out later. So. That's the thing, we just need to finish fucking Bleach, but it's like too long to just knock out. So, I mean, I would have read and talked about the whole thing, but no, that would have been a long podcast. But anyway, yeah, Hitsugaya gets a fight, and I don't have much to say.
No, I have nothing to say. Like, he gets a fight, and it sure is a fight. That's just kind of my feelings on most of this portion. It's like, oh, yep, character gets a fight. Sure was a fight.
And we already talked about Komamura's deal, because the whole vengeance thing was also connected to Tosen and Gin, but we already talked about that, so yeah.
What else we got? There was the Byakuya Rukia fight with the Fear guy, and that was a...
Yeah, I'm scrolling through, I just got to the Renji fight, and I'm like, keep going. We already bitched about that. Because I think we're almost done. I think we just have Rukia and Kenpachi.
Yeah, because the Rukia fight, I almost got, like, there was a moment where I was... like, oh no, this isn't going to go so well, but then it didn't. Like, Rukia was fighting, and then she started losing, and then Byakuya showed up, and I was like, oh no, we're not doing this. But no, Byakuya then, he didn't win the fight. He just kind of came in and broke Rukia out of her little daze, and then she was able to win the fight herself. And I was like, because I was going to say, don't do this. Rukia needs... Because that had been like a recurring thing up to this point. It's like, when in Fullbring, Rukia had her fight, and she won, sort of, kind of, but like then Byakuya, when she came back, she was like one of... Because like, most of the characters in Fullbring won their fights, but Rukia was the only one who kind of had like that draw, sort of.
Yeah, well, because Riruka, she hid away inside Rukia. Like, I don't know if she would have won or not, but she I think I tried to figure it. I was trying to figure out mid podcast last time, and I didn't go back to that. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what there was to take from that. I was kind of with some threads, but I didn't tie anything up. So. But yeah, it was definitely not as like clear cut a win as the other characters.
Yeah.
Especially like Byakuya and Kenpachi and Renji. So I see what you mean, because it's like, well, because I liked her counter to the fear where she killed herself basically by lowering her body temperature, and that was kind of cool. It didn't work, and then Byakuya comes in, so I definitely see your fears. You were having fear this fight.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. Yeah, but then, Byakuya sort of, well, hold on, I had a note about this fight, actually.
He's got a note.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing I noticed, because the other thing is, like, with the dude, the fear guy, he was willing to offer everything to Yuabak, but he was also afraid of doing so there was that conflict there, and also he's the next... he's technically the next generation compared to Yuabak, who's like super ancient, but the torch isn't being passed there. Well, with Rukia, you have Byakuya, helping, Rukia, the next in line, but then you also have like, where was the line? Hold on. Oh, that's right, because Byakuya talks about how dangerous Rukia's Bankai is. Like, she has to be careful with it because, she can't die using it, because she's not supposed to die. She's supposed to be the next generation, not where it basically. So her Bankai kind of fits that, whereas again the fear guy, he was willing to offer himself for Yuabak, but Rukia isn't supposed to risk or to offer herself, even though she's at risk by her power. So there's a bit of a ideological difference there, and it's neat. I hope I made sense. So are we about done with that one? Because that was probably the best fight in this stretch of chapter. Maybe it was the best fight, because the Yamamoto one was cool.
Are you sure? I mean, if you want to talk about a cool fight, this was the coolest.
Yes, and the Yamamoto was the hottest. So yeah, trying to remember if there were other good ones from the first stretch.
Yeah, the funny thing is like I was interested in this fight from the messages it was trying to convey, but like on a technical level, like even this fight wasn't super standout, like the fear one. Because I can't like that. Yeah. I guess that's just a thing that I've realized, is that like when we get to the end and I'll have to choose what my favorite fight was, I honestly don't know. Like, I'm not remembering many fights from Bleach.
There's so many of them. How do you choose? So anyway, moving on to the last fights, I suppose, is fucking... when Yachiro was getting the shit beat out of her, I was like, this fucker is going to die, because you do not touch Yachiro and expect to live.
No.
And it was interesting actually seeing, because Yachiro hasn't fought before, and here she is actually kind of getting one. So, I mean, I don't have much to say about it. I was just getting mad because you don't bully Yachiro. She's too adorable to bully.
And then Kenpachi shows up, and Kenpachi's not happy.
Of course not. That's one of my exact thoughts, because it's like, this guy fucked up when he touched Yachiro. And this guy had an interesting power, the imagination thing, because, well, it's like the whole thing with Kenpachi being beyond imagination. Because his Shikai, like, he can cut like, he does the fucking One Punch Man. There's a meteor coming, and he's like, fuck that meteor in particular. And yeah, I'm not sure if I had anything to say about the fight, except how it resolved was neat. Though one thing I'm not sure about is because Kenpachi's whole thing is that he needs to stop going easy, but at the same time he's still using a sword in one hand, and he's still got an eye patch. I mean, but no, he does use he did use the Shikai though, so yeah. Not not from the beginning. I forget if like the Shikai has like a power, like with Bankai, it takes a lot of power, so you can't just use it freely. Like even during the flashback with Ishin, he was like, well, I'm not in a state right now to use my Bankai. Like he was a bit stressed, he was a bit in dire straits, which is why Misaki had to come in to save him. So also I'm actually looking at Kenpachi's Shikai, and I noticed that the blade is fucked up still. So, dude, get a whetstone. A soul whetstone. I don't know how it fucking works. But yeah, I thought the ending was kind of interesting because, he saw Kenpachi as this monster that could potentially kill him. So he turned into a monster that could also kill him. And did. The monster killed him.
Yep.
That he transformed into. It's like a weird... Well, because it's like his imagination power works on kind of like logic. And so he dies through like a logic step in a way. It was like a weird thing. Or wait, maybe I'm wrong. Hold on. Oh, I see. Oh, okay, yeah. He wasn't able to contain Kenpachi's power, basically, so yeah. It was fine. I think we're almost done. Because, yeah, Kenpachi gets attacked by the 4 girls, and he's already weakened from his fight, and he almost gets wrecked, but then Ichigo comes in. Like, oh yeah, by the way, if you had to go read a chapter before listening, sorry, because, okay. So first we were supposed to end at like 571, except actually reading it doesn't make sense because it's like right in the middle of something. And then we were supposed to, someone else told me 580, but then I actually read it and it was like the cliffhanger was Ichigo and is about to come down, but it was just like a mysterious flash of light. So I read one chapter ahead and sure enough, Ichigo comes down. So that's a better, because it's like, now it's a better cliffhanger because now I know, okay, Ichigo's here. Ichigo's gonna start doing stuff. Renji and Rukia are still up. They're still down here. So it's like, yeah, the rest of the arc's gonna continue. That's the thing. We're mid arc. So of course the discussion's gonna get awkwardly cut short because our reading got awkwardly cut short. So yeah, there were parts of this that were really fucking hype. Parts of this that were a little and I'm curious as to what's coming up. How do you feel, Mathwiz? How are you feeling, aside from kill me?
Well, now that we've gotten, as I had said earlier, as I got further into the stretch chapters, previous issues that I would have had before were kind of getting resolved. So, in the end,
that's the thing.
I'm not disappointed in this arc, per se, but, I still have that feeling of disappointment, because, in the moment, as I was reading it, I was, continuously getting let down, but then as I was going along, retroactively, it would be fixed. So, by the end of it, I'm still just sort of
I realized some things that, like back with the Yamamoto fight, I was like, oh, what Yuobak shedding tears for his allies doesn't make sense. And then I was going through it again. I'm like, oh, yeah, wait, it does, because it's not Yuobak. So it's like, the fear is, how much payoff are we actually getting next time? Because, again, it cut off, before Kubo Kubo had intended the final arc to go a bit longer than it was supposed to, apparently. And he decided to end it where he ended it because he physically wasn't able to continue longer. So there's going to be threads that aren't going to be tied up. The question is how important are they? Oh no, Renji didn't get payoff. I'm not gonna care because I don't care about Renji. But if Orihime and Ichigo don't get payoff, that's kind of a shame because I kind of liked where their arcs were going. Ishida's had a lot of build up. Komamura had a little, a couple scenes. He's got, the vengeance thing has it. So it's but it's some of these characters are obviously more important than others. So yeah, I'm kind of fearful. I don't know. I did enjoy a lot of a lot of this. There was some drag parts, but overall reading it was kind of fun, and I was enjoying it. So I'm not sure how I'd rate it next to Arrancar Soul Society yet, let alone when I finish it. So I mean, I definitely think it's above Fullbring. I think I enjoyed this more than the last time. But again, it's part of it is just me holding off on some judgments because there's more to go.
See, I kind of have sort of an opposite opinion where I definitely did not enjoy this. I've enjoyed this, I think, the least out of any stretch chapters, but it's not because I think the material is bad. It's just because Bleach fatigue is eating away at me.
Well, we did read 50 chapters last week. This is this 2 weeks is the bulkiest Bleach we've read. We just read 150 chapters. That's a huge chunk of Bleach, so it's understandable. But that's the thing. The reason we're doing this is because, again, the schedule. 2 weeks from now, we're doing the rest of Bleach. Then a week after that, we're going to go to Anime Expo, so we can't really do much more reading. Because the other thing is that, like, what we were originally going to do is this week there would have been no episode. Next week would have been this stretch of chapters, and the week after that would have been the rest of 1,000 Years. So we would have put the 1,000 Year Blood War together within 2 weeks of each other, or within the same 2 weeks.
So instead of 150 chapters in 2 weeks,
it would have been 200 chapters. So Math was like, "Hey, can we change this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that makes sense." So,
but even then, like, I was still getting this kind of fatigue back in Arankar, like when we did the 107 chapter stretch at the end. Like, I was still feeling pretty similar, that I was just like, oh my god,
this was another 100 chapters, so yeah, I get you. Like, I didn't even need to split up the reading. Like, I felt like I had to for, like, Fate Card Kuritan. I was like, okay, I should not have read this in one day, or maybe it was the Hoeka Mundo, but for Fullbring it was shorter, so I had no problem reading it in one day. For this, I enjoyed reading it in one day. It was fun. Like, yeah, I was doing a lot of complaining, you know. I see people, like, disagreeing with our opinions, and that's totally fine. Or my opinion is because I'm enjoying myself. Like, I don't know, how I seem to rate things is less like, I don't know, negatives don't affect me as much unless they interfere with potential positives. Like, so yeah, there are, like, Naruto's a good example. Like, I like things that are flawed but interesting. Naruto is flawed heavily at times, but it doesn't bother me. So I don't blame anyone for for agreeing with me in some areas of Naruto but still giving it like a lower score. That's fine. I'm not gonna blame anyone for that. But I rate Naruto highly because I think the aspects of it that are interesting are really interesting. And Bleach is kind of the same way. Like, I want to dig into Bleach and understand it more. Even it, and I can totally see why people don't. It's a drag to some people, but the question, so it's fine. I don't know. It's fine.
I think that's also part of, like, what's interesting about these discussions we're having is, like, we both gave Naruto the same score, but, like, for me, I think I value Naruto
first.
Higher than you do. But, like,
which
here,
is funny, yes.
you seem to value Bleach much higher than I do. Like, for me, I'm just ready to finish reading Bleach and be done with it. You're like, I'm ready to finish Bleach so I can go back and reread it and
right, and
analyze
then I can make
this.
like a dozen videos on it. Even, like, it's weird. Like, there were parts of Bleach where I'm like, if I, like, dig into every part of Bleach and enjoy it as much as I'm enjoying this part of Bleach, it might be like a 9 or a 10. But then I read, like, the Renji fight and I'm like, okay, I kind of want to die a little. So it's weird. I like how I'd almost say it is, like, Bleach might, like, I don't know, does it have lower lows than Naruto? But even if it does, they're so, like, it's usually just like a fight or two an arc. That, like, that Renji fight was, like, bad. Maybe there's some, like, nuance to it that's still not gonna make the fight entertaining, but at least it'll be like, okay, I get it now.
See, like for me, I can sort of recognize that, like, okay, these fights have ideas. Like, obviously, every story has some sort of idea it's going to try to explore, even if it explores it badly.
But you can explore. You can separate the difference between, like, you personally enjoying it and it being, like, functional as like that's kind of the thing is I'm trying to get at here is, like, well, because I feel like analysis should be largely divorced from personal opinion. Like, you should take out, like, I just put up a video. You would have seen it yesterday, on Precure, on a season Precure. And it's like I feel like my opinion of the show, it should be divorced from, like, the points I raise in the video. Like, it shouldn't matter whether I like the show. Like, I don't know why I use that example. The Sasuke video might be a better example because it actually gives specifics. Like, I didn't mention the Sharingan in that video. It doesn't, like, I don't like the Sharingan, but it doesn't matter for understanding Sasuke's character arc and how it applies thematically to the story. Yeah, it's a problem, but it doesn't matter for the subject of the video. So it's like, reviews, yeah, you can make as many concessions as you want. Like, oh, I like this thing, but I didn't like that thing, because that's the point of review. You're trying to decide whether it's worth someone's time or money. But, like, yeah, so this is more of an opinionated podcast, so this is more of, like, of a review, but it's not necessarily going to reflect in the contents. Like, I could, if I gave Bleach a 5, and I'd like to think I could make the same videos on Bleach, even if I, didn't enjoy it as much, but still found it as interesting in some way. That's for me, though, that's the thing, is when I find something interesting, I like it. Like, I like things that are interesting, you know, even if, like Sasuke's not a likable character, especially during the fucking war when he's off the fucking deep end. Like, but that, I find him interesting, so I like him. His edge was funny. I thought it was funny.
See, I kind of had something...
I didn't mention that in the video.
I kind of had something similar with Naruto, where, like, I made that big video about Talk no Jutsu and heavily focusing on Naruto, but he's, like, not even one of my top 5 characters. So, like, he's an interesting character. Yes, he's just not necessarily, you know, he didn't personally connect with me as much.
Right. So you were able to talk about other aspects of the series, but not Naruto. But even though, yeah, well, I mean, you were talking about a lot of characters in there, including Gaara, Sasuke, and Obito, who are in your top 5, I believe.
Yes.
Yes. I think the only character, Pain. Who's the other one? Deidara and Pain.
It was there was Gaara, Deidara, Sasuke. See, I don't even remember. I think Pain might have been in there, because I know as I was making the video, I was like, oh, Pain's actually better than I thought. So, like, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I watched the video, and that was the thought I had.
But, like, for me, like, on the topic of interest versus enjoyment, I feel like Bleach, like, it has cool ideas that it explores. I just feel like it explores them in the most monotonous, uninteresting way possible, which is weird for me to say this, because, like, Bleach is obviously a battle manga, but I think it has too many battles. Like, that's a weird complaint to make, but somehow Bleach makes me feel that way. Like, even in Naruto with the Sasuke retrieval arc, where I felt like not all the fights were necessary, there were still, like, it made sense that they were there. Like, the dynamics of the fight weren't super enjoyable, but, like, the logical progression of, like, the ideas of that arc, like, it made sense that they were there. Whereas, like, with Bleach, I've said before that it feels like the worst parts of the Sasuke retrieval arc just kind of on repeat at times.
Yeah, no, I get... Well, yeah, no, I get what you mean. But I guess my thing with Bleach is that, like, I've already been proven that it's doing interesting things, or things I find interesting, and so I do want to give, like, the whole thing a fair shot. Like, I don't want to outright, like, okay, the Renji thing is going to be hard. Good luck. But it's, you know, it's... Especially not when I'm not done with it. So, I don't know. Bleach is interesting, even if it's got issues with it. But even then, it's like the only issues, it's like again, I've said before, it's like, I feel if you don't like the characters, that's fine, but at the same time, what's wrong with them? Like, thematic, like, there's thematic ideas, they work, like, the question, like, you know, there could be some consolidation. Like, I do think like some characters could stand to have less focus, and, you know, focus on the good stuff, but you could say that about anything. So yeah, I don't know. But then again, it's like, I don't know. Bleach is... I just need to fucking finish it.
See, I'm similar to you in that I don't fully understand what all's trying to be said with Bleach, and so I do kind of want to revisit it, but at the same time, unlike you, where you are just eager to go back and revisit it, I'm like, shit, I have to go back and I have to reread Bleach. Because, like, the act of reading it is not very enjoyable for me, even if the ideas are interesting and I want to learn more about them.
You read it on, like, an online reader, don't you?
Yes.
1 page at a time?
Yeah.
Like a website?
Yeah. Although even then, I don't feel like... Because I've read physical manga before, and I do think that sort of experience is a little better, but even then, like, just reading...
Well, see, my thing is that I prefer physical manga, but how I usually read is through... I read downloaded volumes on an image viewer, where I could read really quick. Like, I get 2 pages at a time, and I could just go through it really quickly, so it's a different experience. So, maybe... is that really going to be... Is that part of... Like, because... Am I just able to read it that much quicker than you because I'm using downloaded volumes instead of an online thing, maybe? I don't know if that would that really impact the experience so much? I don't know. I said I'd need to pull it. Like, do you do you like Bleach? Yes or no? Do you read physical / downloaded, or do you read later on like with 4 options?
Like for Naruto, so I think we had the same sort of thing where like I read it online, but like I enjoyed Naruto more than you, even like in spite of that. So maybe it's just like the nature of how Bleach is structured.
Well, you gave it like a 7 out of 10, and I gave it an 8.
Well, then I did end up bumping it to an 8 after while I was making my video.
Well, see, I'm trying to remember what parts you enjoyed. So yeah, I guess that's fair. Well, there were times where you were like, I thought the pacing was slow, and I was like, I didn't have a problem. So Like I forget if it was Sasuke Retrieval or
maybe it's not
the
that I
Tenchi
enjoyed it more,
Bridge.
but like you don't have really, I don't think, any other Naruto videos planned at the moment. Whereas like I have a bunch. Like
well, you listen to a bunch of the Nen Show too. So,
like Naruto is the one I want to dive into. Bleach is the one you want to dive into.
Yeah, so that's and One Piece, but hopefully we both want to dive into One Piece.
So like that's kind of why I said I enjoyed Naruto more. Is like there's more that I want to say about it.
Yeah, that's well, because it's like Naruto's interesting, but it's like, you know, so I already talked about Sasuke, and it's like there's nothing else I wanted to talk about really came through. Like I was thinking about doing a video on sort of Itachi and the morality over correction issue, but now because the other thing is like with like pacing, and another one that I've been talking about is like a suspension of disbelief with like reality and contrivance. It's like they're very, and I guess the other thing was like the morality over correction thing is they're very feelings based, and I'm sort of like disagreeing with that like type of like analysis as like an analysis video, because you're trying to justify your feelings and coming up with the thing, but like the thing with reality in particular, I've come to disagree with as like praise or criticism, because you can apply it to everything. Like you can say this is unrealistic, this is realistic. Like you could, but if you're not, but then like people accept unrealistic things like superpowers, but then they don't accept something unrealistic like this other thing. So it's like, okay, where do you draw the line? Mm-hmm. And so my standard for drawing the line is verisimilitude. Does it follow the rules of the setting? But then it's like, what becomes acceptable as setting rules? And, you know, usually the rule is like meaning behind it. So it's like, but then it's like, what are the rules of pacing? Like, yeah, you can feel like it's slow or fast, but you can't, like, if you feel Bleach is slow, I feel it's fast. Like, I could just, like, we can't really argue that, but we can argue setting rules, we can argue verisimilitude, but we can't really argue pacing unless we figure out some kind of standard for it. And so, you know, that's kind of my, like, I don't know. So I forget what the original point was.
I don't know if it's necessarily like, pacing. It's just, I feel like when I say monotonous, it feels very repetitive. Like, fight. Which, like, people, like, there is a complaint against Bleach that it's repetitive. And I do think, like, there is a degree of that where it's taken too far. Like, in Super Eye Patch Wolf's video, he talks about, like, how, Ichigo and friends go to a world that they don't understand in the Soul Society, and they challenge the blah, blah, blah. And then he says, like, they go to Hueco Mundo, and it's a world that they don't understand, and they're challenging the rules, and blah, blah, blah. But it's obviously, like, Hueco Mundo and Soul Society were two completely different beasts.
There's
like, two completely different ideas being explored there.
Yes,
so,
that
like,
was
in that sense...
Even with the fights,
like,
it's like you have different powers and characters and ideas, but, you know, ultimately, all their conflicts are their fights. And, because that's my thing, is, like, I like conflicts. I like Bleach doesn't always have interesting conflicts, but I like conflicts more than I like fights. Like if it's just two dudes hitting each other, that doesn't matter. But if they're two dudes hitting each other and having like an ideological argument, that's interesting.
I guess,
and Bleach tries for that.
Yeah, I guess
obviously
that's
I don't
what I feel with
Bleach
is that there's a lot of fights, but not as many conflicts.
I was gonna say the opposite, because it's like I wouldn't say every fight, like, you know, every fight has its idea, but whether it fully explores it or not is like I don't know. I feel like the fights are more than just people hitting each other. Like some fights are. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what fights really are that.
Or like I guess like how all these
even Renji,
like
even the Renji fight I didn't care about had like the hero villain thing.
I mean, like you say, it's
like,
an idea, but what does it like
know.
accomplish in the context of the overall narrative? That's what I mean. Like they're not conflicts, is what I mean. Like they don't all add into something. Like with Naruto, with Talk no Jutsu, all those ideological conflicts all play into this greater theme. Like they're over the course of several arcs, so maybe it's not entirely fair to say that, but like
Well, yeah, well that's the thing. It's because with Bleach it's like Ikkaku and his luck. Like you had his luck against Ichigo, you had his luck against Shishigama. So it's like this one idea latched to this one character, and with the Shishigama thing it tied into the trust aspect. So it's like, but does Ikkaku get like a final payoff that has to do with the torch passing in this arc? Like, can you apply like one sort of solid cohesive arc to Ikkaku? We don't know. We're not finished. But yeah, like with Renji, it's like I don't know what it is, and the fight was like that had the hero villain thing. But where does that come from? So it's got an idea. But like, how valuable is the conflict? And again, yeah, I still agree that, you know, Bleach characters could stand to be trimmed back to the focal ones, the ones that work. But it's like the story's over. But so the question is judging each individual one. And like, yeah, there's Yumi Chika's thing with beauty. Like, I don't particularly care. Like, it's an idea, but it's like, whatever, But again, there's the difference between like personally caring about it and like whether it works for the story or not. And I just feel like, at least I need to finish the story before I really fully go in. So I don't know, we've talked for like 20 minutes, even though we're done with the actual discussion. So maybe we should call it finally. Did you have any final thoughts?
I'm ready to be done. Next time we'll be done, and then we can move to One Piece, and then I won't have to deal with Bleach anymore. Except for when you make
One
your
Piece
videos on it, because that'll help me maybe understand it better. Maybe you can reread it for me.
I don't know. There's a shitload of I'll read it for you. There's a shitload of analysis too. And I've been getting someone last episode. Why didn't I write down the name? They were cool. They gave me a bunch of Reddit posts with a bunch of analysis that I can't read yet. Which is why I didn't think of their name. I'm sorry, because it's all on the last arc, but I can't read it because it's all on the last arc. So damn it. Anyway, thank you for listening. You're not hearing ending music right now because the anime is over. But the manga continues. Bye. Thank you for listening.
So then they didn't hear an opening either. We never addressed that.
I did. Yes, we did. I told them they were going to be confused because there was no opening.
Oh, that's what you meant. Well, I ruined the ending now.
Mathwiz, go to bed.